The latest Hellboy reboot, aka Hellboy the Crooked Man, is officially out. You yourself can watch it on digital for $20. So I bought it yesterday, I got to watch it late last night, took some notes, and well, here's my review of what is arguably the best and most accurate version of Hellboy to date, but not the best film based on Hellboy. Okay, so before we get into this, before people get mad at me, Guillermo del Toro is my favorite director of all time. Hellboy 2 is in my top 10 comic book films of all time. But like so many other directors that have made comic book films, he took the elements that look familiar and then took elements that he likes and, well, made Hellboy not like the comics. And I can admit that and still love the character of Hellboy and love Guillermo del Toro's movies. So with that in mind, I like Hellboy 1, I love Hellboy 2, I even found the reboot alright. So when I talk about this film, aka Hellboy the Crooked Boy, I'm coming at this from two different angles. One, that this is the best Hellboy representation that's from the comics that's been put into live action. Because, well, I'll talk about that in a little bit. On the other hand, the other way I'm talking about it is how does it hold up as a film? And, well, if you want a quick spoiler in regards to what I think of it, I think that it's better than the last film, and as a film, on par with the first one, not as good as The Golden Army. Okay, now let's get into the film. So, this is obviously the latest reboot, and you can just tell by the trailers, by the advertising, by the fact that it skipped theaters, that this was a cheap reboot. Now, that's not necessarily bad. Don't get me wrong, that is not bad. And the best thing I could say is that this looks like a expensive TV pilot to maybe kick off a TV series. And I honestly wish it was, because if they could get the foundation down like this, like they did in this film for a TV series, I think they would have something really interesting. Because what works is what makes many of the Hellboy comics work, which is the horror aspect. So let me just quickly talk about the story. Hellboy is dispatched to Appalachia, and if you know what that is in the United States, here you go. You probably understand what's going on here. If you're outside the United States, it's a basic story. There's a huge stretch of very dense forest that goes all the way from the south of the U.S. all the way up north through the east. I actually have hiked parts of the Appalachian Trail multiple times. It's absolutely fascinating. Sometimes there is patches of trees that are so clumped together in the middle of the day, you would think it's nighttime. It is dense, and there's a lot of legends and creepy stuff that's set to be in there. There's all sorts of legends. Just look up Appalachian creatures or something like that. Either way, though, they tackle one of the legends in this, aka the Crooked Man. Now, I don't want to spoil why he's called the Crooked Man and what's going on, but it's deeply rooted in Appalachia, well, history or superstition. And the way that they handle it here is you got Hellboy, who's essentially caught up in a mixture of a comic book film, a thriller horror film, and the best thing I can compare to would be something like The Evil Dead. It's almost like pulling from that. And what they essentially do here is go very basic. You can tell that this thing did not use a lot of CG to like augment giant cities or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I haven't looked up where this was shot, or I've forgotten, but I can tell you this is somewhere in Eastern Europe. I would not be surprised if it's like on the outskirts of Prague or the Czech Republic or somewhere. I mean, just because I'm from that, Eastern European area, I could tell you that some of the trees and the way things look, specifically in relation to set dressing, are definitely not the United States. But again, that's one of those things where if you know what to look for, you know what to look for. Sort of like, quick tangent, I'm currently playing Silent Hill 2 Remake. You can tell that they were foreign developers, even in the original, because bathrooms are designed in a European and an Asian style, not America, where Silent Hill is set. That's just on the side. I just want to mention that. You can notice a couple of those things here. Now, the big thing in this film that really worked for me was, honestly, the cast. I think they all do their part well, especially Hellboy himself. I think he's great. Far better than David Harbour. And obviously, is he Ron Perlman? Well, he's not trying to be Ron Perlman, and Ron Perlman wasn't necessarily Hellboy. So, you got to look at these things from a different point of view and look at them and judge them for what they are. I think he did a really good job. Almost reminds me, in a good way, of Ray Stevenson's portrayal of Punisher. A lot of people love Thomas Jane's version, but that wasn't the Punisher. His origin story wasn't the Punisher. He just wasn't the Punisher. And even his take on how the character acts was kind of subdued, where Ray Stevenson went straight comic book, for better or for worse, and as I always reference that film, I think it's like a grindhouse Punisher film. I almost get the sense that that's sort of what they were going for here. Understanding that longtime fans want to see a specific version of Hellboy, and they get it. And with that in mind, I think the one thing that really worked in this film is honestly the short runtime. Now again, it's like an hour and a half. And I guarantee they shot this thing for like 15 to 20 million. Again, it feels like a somewhat expensive HBO pilot or something like that. And I think that that really worked because they could then contain the film to what it is here, which is a few locations, dark, moody. When they use CG, you can tell that they're using it sparingly and in places to enhance specific things, even like practical things, which really does ultimately pay off. The story of the film, again, is nothing more than I said. It's basic. Go to Appalachia. Hey, what's this Crooked Man? Oh, let's figure out what the Crooked Man is. Oh, look, weird things are happening. Oh, that's the Crooked Man. Okay, let's get to the end and the big blow-off. And that's all it needs to be. So, I really like this film. I honestly understand why they skipped theaters, and I think with a proper marketing budget, they could have done something in theaters, maybe made some money, but again, my hopes are that maybe somebody looks at this and goes, if you guys could do this for like 15, 20 million, we can make this a TV series. And I hope somebody picks them up, because Hellboy should be something we talk about more frequently, as it's a great comic. They're great horror comics. And this is the first time that a film has captured that essence and feel. So I recommend this. I really do. I think my $20 that I spent was worth it. And I'm just now waiting for the Steelbook, which I'm going to add to my collection. This is a good Hellboy film.